I'm standing in what is known as the Sandpit, which is this tiny patch of sand in the middle of a woodland area called Horsell Common. Horsell Common is situated just outside of the town centre of my hometown, Woking. For this relatively small English town, we have two big claims to fame. Firstly, about a mile that way is the McLaren racing headquarters, the luxury sports car manufacturer and F1 team. Woking's second claim to fame mostly belongs to this sandpit here and Horsell Common. It doesn't look like much, but this sandpit is one of the most famous locations in the history of English literature. And this is because this was where Martians landed in H.G. Wells's iconic novel, The War of the Worlds. Not only did the Martians land here, but the book takes place almost entirely in the surrounding area. Chapter 3 of the book is even entitled On Horsell Common, and my hometown of Woking is frequently name-checked throughout the book. Often it's H.G. Wells describing the destruction that the Martians have caused. So why the hell did H.G. Wells choose this place for the Martians to land? Well, I'm gonna have to throw it back over to Inside Owen to answer that question, because I'm starting to get a lot of strange looks from a lot of dog walkers out here. Over to you, Inside Owen. Thanks, Outside Owen. Inside Owen here, feeling way less awkward trying to film a video. So, why the hell did H.G. Wells choose Horsell Common as the place for the Martians to land? The answer is actually pretty simple. He lived in Woking. After marrying his second wife, he moved into the area, and it was known that he liked to take walks and bike rides around the local countryside in the morning and then write in the afternoon. Apparently, the original idea for the book came from one of these walks that he happened to be taking with his brother. They supposedly started to ponder what it would be like if aliens had landed here and, well, started trashing the place. H.G. Wells even dedicated the book to his brother, the dedication reading, "To my brother, Frank Wells, this rendering of his idea." H.G. Wells apparently liked to imagine and fantasize the destruction of the houses and cottages that he would cycle or walk past. And if you think that's a little bizarre, just wait for this bit. According to the author John Flynn, while H.G. Wells was writing The War of the Worlds, he took great pleasure in shocking his friends by revealing details of the story. He would tell them all about how the Martians were decimating these places that they knew. Even characters in the book, such as the artilleryman and the brother medical student, were based off people that Wells knew from Woking and the surrounding area. So you think Wells is done being a little weird? No, we're just getting started. While working on the book, he sent a letter to a friend, and in it he wrote, "I'm doing the dearest little serial for Parsons' new magazine, in which I completely wreck and sack Woking, killing my neighbours in painful and eccentric ways. Then proceed via Kingston and Richmond to London, which I sack, selecting South Kensington for feats of peculiar atrocity." Okay. But one of my favourite things about this story is that Woking has embraced its quirky little part in the history of science fiction. On what would have been H.G. Wells' 150th birthday, the local council threw a massive party in the park, which is this big sort of carnival fun fair thing, concerts, music, food in the sort of green open space in the Woking Park. It was a lot of fun. It had everything sort of sci-fi, so there was like a TARDIS there and a Dalek from Doctor Who. There was a lot of steampunk characters walking around, sort of paying homage to the style of sci-fi at the time H.G. Wells was writing the book. Plus, dotted around the town centre of Woking are a few sculptures and bits of art that actually depict the Martian invasion. This pretty big Martian tripod being the most iconic, it looks pretty cool. I'm really glad it's still there, because I thought actually when I was writing this video that I hadn't seen it for a while and I guessed it would maybe have been taken down, but no, it was still there and it still looks super cool, and I love the little details like it's marching away from the Horsell Common and into the Woking town centre. There's also a representation of one of the cylinders, which is the big ship things that the aliens crashed down and sort of landed in, and you can see it's sort of got a sandy kind of colour around it to represent it crashing into the sand at Horsell Common. There's also a lovely little feature on some of the paving stones around the Martian and the cylinder. Now, I don't want to spoil the book, and I don't think what's on these paving slabs will spoil the book if you haven't read it, but on these paving slabs, sort of in metal wiring, are bacteria, which is a nice little nod to the role that bacteria play in the book, and I just love this little alley. And what's also nice is literally about 50 feet from where that alley is, there is a sculpture of H.G. Wells himself. I believe, I don't know, but I believe it was set up again for his 150th birthday. It's a pretty cool looking sculpture. It's got him holding a sort of spherical world in his hand. And also at the bottom of his chair, there's this leafy alien thing looking like it's kind of growing and crawling up the back of the chair, which I think is a nice homage to his sci-fi roots and the actual book, The War of the Worlds. For some reason, when I started writing this video, I genuinely became really proud and sort of town patriotic about having that history here, and so it was really cool to A, see that that big Martian sculpture was still there, and B, that they've even added a statue of H.G. Wells himself in the town centre as well. And now I'm going to throw it back over to Outdoor Owen to finish off. Although I've never seen any, apparently Horsell Common and the Sandpit in particular is still a pilgrimage for a lot of sci-fi fans who want to come see where the Martians first landed. For most of my childhood, I just knew Horsell Common as the place we could come and have a walk in the local woods, or in the winter where the small lakes would freeze over and we could go out and play on the ice. The area's place in sci-fi history is a mere footnote on a lot of websites that reference Horsell Common. It's like oh, by the way, this is where War of the Worlds started. But I think this place deserves a little more recognition than that. This tiny patch of sand in a small woodland area by a little town in England is a significant part of one of the most influential books in English literature history. A book that helped give birth to the entire sci-fi genre. And I think that's pretty cool. When Steven Spielberg came to adapting H.G. Wells' classic novel in 2005, he didn't choose to set it here. Instead, he opted for New York as the first sighting of the Martians, which I guess is understandable. This part of Woking doesn't exactly have the same cinematic quality as the streets of one of America's most beloved cities. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm gonna go with this book. This book, which is over 120 years old. It knows where the Martians really landed, and they landed right here.